Thank you for signing up to be a volunteer with United Way Reading Pals Read Across America Day. My name is Melissa Elgersma. I'm Reading Pals Coordinator here at United Way of Northeast Florida. If you're not familiar with Read Across America Day, Read Across America Day is a national day founded by the National Educators Association to celebrate beloved children's author Dr. Seuss, as well as promote reading with young children. Now, I'd like to start off with a few tips to make your reading experience more enjoyable for you, and really making sure it's very enjoyable for your kids as well. So a few tips to keep in mind. Now, if you're a regular reading pal, please note this is a little different because we're reading to an entire class. The big difference between reading to a class and reading to individual children is that it's a little more of a show when you read to the whole class. So a gesture you might do or a face you might make when you read with one child or two children, you're going to want to make that gesture just a little bit bigger because you're reading to the whole class now. So a couple things. Kids generally at this age, we're going to be reading with preschool students, have a lot of energy, but it's only in short bursts. So you might find you get about halfway through this book, and the book we're reading is Cat in the Hat, that your kids, their energy might start to wane a little bit and they'll be getting a little distracted. Now, one thing a lot of us don't remember now that we're adults is that Cat in the Hat is a long book. It's 65 pages long, and I think that's going to be our biggest challenge this day. Now, Cat in the Hat is also a book lots of kids are really familiar with, and they like it. So that's going to work in our favor as well. Kids are going to be super excited. I know that book, I know that book, I know how that story goes. So that's going to help us out quite a bit as well. So don't be too intimidated by the length of the book. It's a very high interest book for 4-year-olds, so that's really going to work in our favor on Monday or if you're reading on Tuesday. So a couple of things. When you read to kids, you want to make sure you read in a clear, strong voice. When we read to 4-year-olds, it's not this. Look at me now, said the cat, with a cup and a cake and a rake on top of my hat. It's not that. We want to make sure when we're reading that we hold the book so all children can see. Now sometimes I'll even do this and kind of bring the book around so everyone can see, just bring it forward a little bit. Now if the kids can't see, they're going to let you know pretty vocally and pretty early on in the reading. You might find that you'll have kids, as they get more excited, they're going to move a little closer to you. They might get excited and start to sit on their heels. I promise you, if the kid in front of them sits on your heels, the kid in the back will say, I can't see. So you might just have to give a gentle reminder of everybody to please sit on your bottom so everybody can see. So a couple of other things. It's okay to stop when you're reading this book. I'm going to share with you, kind of walk through a sample story time you might do with this. And you might want to stop in the middle of this book if you can see the kids are getting a little fidgety, and do one of the finger plays or the rhymes that we have for you. Now, there are also songs included as well. Now, remember, with little kids, they don't care if you're a good singer or not. You can sound like Barbra Streisand or a cat caught in the vacuum cleaner. It's all good. It's okay. They'll just enjoy the singing. So you also want to make sure that you're being interactive with the kids when you're reading to them. It's okay to stop and ask questions. Like I might read this book and say, does anyone have a cat at home? If you have a cat at home, can you raise your hand? And so then the kids get to raise their hand who have a cat at home. Or I might say, as I'm reading the book, I might stop on this page and say, who can raise your hand and tell me one thing that you see in this picture? And then I'll kind of move the book closer so everybody can take a look at it. So that's another way to do it as well. As I do the sample story time, I'll sort of walk through with you some of just the tips that I use since I've been reading this book for a number of years. I'll share with you a couple of my tips for reading this book as well. And most importantly and finally, relax and have fun. This doesn't have to be perfect. 4-year-olds love visitors, and they're just happy that you're there. So keep that in mind as well. This is a very low pressure day. It's just a great time for you and the kids to have some fun. So when I start a story time, the first thing I like to do is kind of start with a song or a rhyme. I want my kids to get up, move around a little bit before we start to read. That way they're going to be calmer and more focused for a longer amount of time. So one of the songs I like to use, and if you've seen the Bunny Cakes training video that we did for Read for the Record Day, you're going to recognize this song. And again, remember, if you are not the world's greatest singer, it's fine, I promise. So one of the songs I like to use is a song by a singer called Raffi. It's called Shake Your Sillies Out. So in the sample story time I'm going to send you, there's a YouTube link for this as well, so you can get a sense for how the tune goes. So the song goes, gotta shake, shake, shake my sillies out, shake. shake, shake my sillies out. Shake, shake, shake my sillies out and wiggle my waggles away. I gotta clap, clap, clap my crazies out. Clap, clap, clap my crazies out. Clap, clap, clap my crazies out and wiggle my waggles away. I gotta jump, jump, jump my jiggles out. Jump, jump, jump my jiggles out. Jump, jump, jump my jiggles out and wiggle my waggles away. I gotta yawn, 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 my sleepy's out. Yawn, 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 my sleepy's out. Yawn, 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 my sleepy's out. And wiggle my waggles away. And sometimes it might be funny and go, and the kids will say, wake up! I gotta shake, shake, shake my sillies out. Shake, shake, shake my sillies out. Shake, shake, shake my sillies out and wiggle my waggles away. Everybody have a seat. And you can have them stand up when you do it, but you want to make sure you bring them back down. So the last time when you repeat the shake your sillies out, I do it slower and a little bit quieter because that kind of brings everybody back down. Now, if you really want to be clever, you can actually stop after you do yawn your sleepies out because they're going to be quiet and slow from yawning their sleepies out. Oh, and that's a good time for you to start the story. So you can start with that song and then go into reading your book, The Cat in the Hat. Now, as I said, this is a long book, so for this video, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to share just a couple of tips with you. So this is a great book to do voices. Sometimes what happens to me when I'm reading to kids is I'll start doing voices and I sort of forget halfway through. So with this one, I think doing the voices is so important because there's a couple of different characters in here that helps let the kids know and cues them into who is talking. So I try to make the voices as distinctive as I can. And usually when I just read the narrative parts of the book that aren't someone speaking, I'll just use my regular voice. Now, this one, so I'll read a couple of pages to give you an idea. The sun did not shine. It was too wet to play. So we sat in the house all that cold, cold, wet day. Now you might say to the kids, it's been raining a lot here too, hasn't it? It's been so wet outside to go play. I sat there with Sally, we sat there we two, and I said, how I wish we had something to do. Too wet to go out and too cold to play ball. So we sat in the house, we did nothing at all. So all we could do was sit, 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 sit. And we did not like it, not one little bit. Boom! And then something went boom, and that bump made us jump. We looked and then we saw him step on the mat. We looked and we saw him, the cat in the hat, and he said to us, why do you sit there like that? I know it is wet and the sun is not sunny, but we can have lots of good fun that is funny. So you notice the beginning of this story, it's cold, it's wet, we can't go outside. I call it my Eeyore voice. And then, boom, and something happens. And so then the kids know now our story is going to pick up. And you notice I changed my voice a little bit for the cat in the hat too. So that's just some tips on the voices. The main character, when there's a narrator like this, I just use my own voice, and then that way I have kind of the cue to change my voice. So with the fish, if you're familiar with the old actor Paul Lynde, my fish always sounds a little like Paul Lynde, so I say, but our fish said, no, no, make that cat go away. Tell that cat in the hat you do not want to play. You should not be here. He should not be about. He should not be here when your mother is out. My fish is always a little bit in hysterics. So, I'll send a link as well to a video of this whole book, if I can find one online, so you can hear kind of how this has been done in other ways as well. And so my cat is always kind of arrogant, and he, don't worry about it, everything's fine. He's kind of a little bit of a car salesman. My fish is a little bit of a Paul Lynde kind of anxious character. And then the kids, I just sort of use my own voice for that. I don't think Sally really says much in the book. And then thing one and thing two get introduced about halfway through the book. And so thing one and thing two don't really say anything. But with them, I kind of pick up the pace a little bit just because they're kind of running around the house and they're doing all sorts of things. Now, where I really pick up the pace, though, I want to make sure that I show you this.
because some of these pages are going to have a lot of text on them. This is page number 14, where it really starts, as the Cat in the Hat's balancing on this ball, and he really starts sort of stacking things up. What I might do is this, and kids love this, and this takes a little bit of practice, but do your best. Have no fear, said the cat. I will not let you fall. I will hold you up high as I stand, on a ball, with a book in one hand and a cup on my hat. But that is not all I can do, said the cat. And now I give the kids a cue and I do this. Because we're coming onto a really text-heavy page. And so what I do, especially because this part is kind of building excitement, I'll read this page as fast as I can. Now, it's long. And so, but there's a couple of pages like this. So every time I hit a page like this, I'll go, because that gives the kids the cue, and it cracks them up, and they really seem to enjoy it. So then I would say, look at me now, said the cat, with a cup and a cake on the top of my hat. I can hold up 2 books, I can hold up the fish, and a little toy ship and some milk on a dish, and look, I can hop up and down on the ball, but that is not all. Oh no, that is not all. Look at me now. It is fun to have fun, but you have to know how. I can hold the cup and the milk and the cake. I can hold up these books and the fish on a rake. I can hold a toy ship and a little toy man, and look with my tail. I can hold a red fan. I can fan with the ball and with the fan and hop on the ball, but that is not all. Oh no, that is not all. That is what the cat said. Then he fell on his head. He came down with a bump from up there on the ball, and Sally and I, we saw all the things fall. So I kind of pick up the pace a little bit, especially those long text-heavy sections. So you don't have to do it like that. That's just how I like to do it. When you're reading to kids, there's lots of room to use your own personal style. If your Cat in the Hat sounds totally different than mine, and your fish is more of an Arnold Schwarzenegger fish, whatever it is, feel free to bring your own personality into it. That's okay. This goal here is for you to have fun and the kids to enjoy themselves as well. So that gives you a little kind of sense of this book. If you're not familiar with the story, gist of it, cat comes over, tears apart the house, brings in thing 1 and thing 2. The fish and the kids throw Cat in the Hat out. The house is a big mess. He comes back with a cleaning machine, puts everything back in order. And then, here's the end of the story. Then our mother came in and she said to us too, "Did you have any fun? Tell me, what did you do?" And Sally and I did not know what to say. Should we tell her the things that went on there that day? Should we tell her about it? Now, what should we do? Well, would you tell your mother if she asked you? So I love the ending of this book because we are immediately set up to have a conversation with the kids. You might say, would you tell your mom? Who would tell your mom? And then you might call on a couple of kids and say, what would you say? What you can do with this question, with this story, is you can work on their comprehension. You can have the kids call on different kids to have you piece together the narrative of what happened in this story. So you might say, would you tell your mother? And if somebody says, who says yes? And then say, what's the first thing you would tell your mother that happened? And they might say, the Cat in the Hat came over. That's right. Who can tell me what was the next thing that happened in our story? Now what you can do too is kind of flash back and kind of turn through the book as you're telling the story, as the kids are talking to you. And they might say, oh, that's right. The fish said the cat had to go outside. The cat had to go away. And then you say, and then what happened? And you call on somebody else, and they might say, oh, he balanced on the ball with all that stuff. And you might say, that's right. And so he had all those things balanced on the ball, and then what happened? Who can tell me? And they're going to say, he fell down. So what I do when I ask kids open-ended questions like that in a group story time situation, I'll ask a couple of kids specifically, but then there kind of gets to the point when they can all just say, yeah, or this thing happened. And that's fine too. So you can do kind of a mix of that. So there is a little finger play that we've included for you with this story. Ideally, a story time is about 20 to 30 minutes for this age group. So we'll mix it up. Like I said earlier, you can stop in the middle of this book and go ahead and do the finger play if you want to. It goes, one little cat on a sunny day put on his hat and went out to play. Two little cats, when the sky turned dark, put on their hats and went to the park. Three little cats, when the sky turned blue, put on their hats and went to the zoo. Four little cats by the kitchen door put on their hats and went to the store. Five little cats on a sunny day put on their hats and they all ran away. Then you might even repeat this one because it's got these great hand gestures that we can do, and the kids will do them with you. You'll spot a few kids kind of halfway through starting to repeat after you. And the same thing with the Shake Your Sillies Out song.
It's very repetitive, so they're going to get it. You might even leave out words like you might say, two little cats, when the sky turned dark, put on their, and they're going to say hats. So that's also working on comprehension. It's getting them to sort of fill in those missing words, which is part of being able to tell a narrative. And then to wrap up your story time, I always like to do a little rhyme or a little song. So the rhyme that I use quite a bit is one that goes like this. And you can have the kids stand up to do this. Tickle the clouds, tickle your toes, turn around and tickle your nose, reach down low, reach up high, story time is over, wave goodbye. And then I might say, everybody have a seat, and then you want to say how much fun you've had visiting with them and that you were happy to share Cat in the Hat with them. You might also, I forgot to mention, start your story time by mentioning why you're there. Say, today is Read Across America Day, and we're celebrating Dr. Seuss's birthday. Dr. Seuss is an author who writes the words to our story and an illustrator who draws our pictures as well for our story. Now, with pre-K, you can start talking about author and illustrator because that's a kindergarten skill, so they are starting to introduce that. You might even introduce the book by saying, what's on the front of our book? Who's on the back of our book? And that's a great way to introduce the book as well. I hope you enjoy your experience for Read Across America Day. We'll send out a brief survey when it's all done just to get a little bit of feedback from you. Feel free to email me, melissae@uwnefl.org, with any feedback or comments that you have about that day as well. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a great time for Read Across America Day.